Hello everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. I just want to make sure I have everything I need to be able to share my screen and take some questions and comments as we go. So just a quick note for housekeeping purposes, please feel free to post your questions in the chat and we'll do our best to answer live today, or we will reach out after this webinar to share some thoughts and be as helpful as we can. So I know we do have some BSN partners on our call today, as well as MSPs who are still considering BSN as your human cybersecurity partner. So for simplicity's sake, I will include an email address to all respective departments in the chat today as well. Any member of our team would be happy to provide next steps or some customized solutions for you. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the Supercharging Human Cybersecurity with Breach Secure Now's Prospecting Tools webinar. I know you're all busy and successful MSPs, so thank you for being generous with your time today. I'm Tracie, the VP of Sales and Marketing at Breach Secure Now, and I'm very happy to have you and your team here today, so welcome. As you know, in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, where technology seamlessly integrates into every asset or facet of our lives, the topic of human cybersecurity has never been more critical or relevant. For me, 12 years ago, I learned to prioritize human cybersecurity the hard way. I was working for my father out of college, who owned a heavy equipment company in northern Colorado. And as a family business, my brothers and I all worked together to buy, sell, or dismantle heavy equipment. Back then, I thought all I would ever need to know about the business was that of iron and earth moving. My dad thought that too, until one day my dad reused his password on his work and personal device, and he unknowingly opened the gates to a hacker who had been lying and watching in wait for some time. His daily digital behaviors were exposed, and soon this very hacker would impersonate my dad and wire $250,000. He would shut down any traceable access and walk out of our lives with our cash and our dignity. Our family business did not have policies or procedures or security awareness training or even a team to call for help in uncovering where we went wrong or how in the heck to mitigate or remediate. As you can imagine, this experience was crippling and it was embarrassing. And without direct knowledge of this industry of technology and data vulnerability, we all felt very helpless. Before this breach, we would have said something like, we're a small business and a hacker won't waste their time on us. Or we sell heavy equipment. No one will want the data that we have. Or from my 20-something self, I said, I know iron and dirt, not computers or tech. Someone else is taking care of that. And that was all false. And that was heartbreaking. And that story that changed my family tree is why I took a job at an MSP and then later Breach Secure Now. I still want to do something about the small businesses that say it will never happen to me, because you and I both know that it will. That was 15 years ago, and here we are in 2023 still talking about and trying to solve the human vulnerability aspect of technology. So I am now honored to be a part of the human cybersecurity revolution and share with you all that there is something we can all do together to proactively and positively change the families of our clients and their humans. Because not only do we have tools and resources like Breach Secure Now that will help us do it, but because humans are worth our time and our energy and our resources to protect, right? I now know that it is vital to have insight into human behavior, and that despite all of the technology and strategy and genuine solution building to protect our clients from a breach, 95% of cybersecurity breaches are still happening by human error. This is astounding, especially since we're in an era of the most innovative technology of our time, and yet breaches have increased by 61% in the last year alone. Just to get real with you for a minute, and I'll dive into some of these prospecting tools, but I think you'll appreciate knowing why your human cybersecurity services are valid and very, very real. In 2022, just last year, only 29% of employees could identify a phishing email. In considering that 90% of cybersecurity breaches result from a phishing attack, it is clear that organizations cannot afford for their employees to be uneducated on the very tactics that cyber criminals use to try to phish them. 76% of organizations experienced a phishing attack in 2022. And as I said, only 29% of those employees could identify what a phishing email looks like, let alone not fall victim to one. My past few years at BSN has reminded me that only 30% of businesses have their employees participate in annual cybersecurity training. That's one training a year. So think about all that risk that is open and vulnerable for that other 70%. If 30% are only participating annually, that is not enough to prevent a breach that 95% of the time is caused by human error. That 70% is our why at Breach Secure Now. Because across the country, and certainly in technology, we need to get better at focusing on prevention. We spend so much of our time, our money, and our energy on the remediation of any bad habit or behavior that we knew would happen. And we have to stop only focusing on that right of boom and focus on the left of boom, prevention, and help stop the boom altogether, or at least train our humans to know what to expect, to be on alert, to be consistently vigilant in their busy days, to not be one of the 95% causing the breaches and changing their lives for the worse. Technology and hardware are not enough. Just like one piece of human cybersecurity will not be enough. Phishing alone, dark web monitoring alone, awareness training alone are not enough. Alone, they still leave devastating vulnerabilities and risk. As a human cybersecurity advocate and ambassador, I encourage you to be more responsible and holistic than that. As an MSP, your role in ensuring the safety and resilience of your clients' systems goes beyond firewalls and encryption. I know you know that. It extends to empowering your people, the heartbeat of your organizations, to be the first and the last line of defense against cyber threats. Together, in partnership, let's take the lead in offering human cybersecurity solutions that transform our clients into proactive protectors of their digital assets. This isn't just about technology. It's about people and partnerships and securing a brighter digital future. So that is what brings us all together today. Finding those humans who deserve a brighter, more protected future. Let's start by diving into one of our most influential tools at BSN, especially for prospecting. It's called the Baseline Employee Cybersecurity Assessment, or Becca for short. As a former MSP professional myself, I distinctly remember walking into many of my prospecting discoveries with a copy of a network or a hardware scan that our MSP would provide. This document would help me tell the story of the need for my MSP services. It would highlight that servers were old or out of date, that desktops and laptops didn't have screensavers or password protections on, or that an organization didn't have a firewall or a filter to help them protect their data. It was, and it is, a helpful resource to tangibly prove that there were areas of improvement and that my MSP was up for the job. So think of our Baseline Employee Cybersecurity Assessment, Becca, in a very similar fashion. Becca is a 60-question quiz from 6 commonly used categories that will help your end users see the real results of their behaviors, their actions, or certainly their inactions. Do they know about PII, personal identifiable information? Or what would they do in a simulated BEC scam scenario? How safe and secure is their posture from their social media interactions? All of these answers and so many more components are organized into an individual and organizational report for your MSP to show the value of an ongoing cybersecurity solution. These employees are ranked and they're evaluated for where they expose and propose the most risk to their organization based on their participation and knowledge of general cybersecurity questions. This assessment is super simple to set up. It is a 3-step process and will take you, your MSP, approximately 2 minutes. Your prospects can expect to spend 20 to 30 minutes taking this assessment. I know you think that's a long time, but it's not. And we have thousands of humans who would prove otherwise, as they have taken this assessment without any complaints. So to set this beauty up, you'll navigate to the Manage Client tab. You can follow along here on my screen if you'd like. You'll navigate to the Manage Client tab. You'll select Client. You'll choose Employee Assessment. And in the drop-down, you'll choose Launch Assessment. Then you will enter the number of users in the organization that you anticipate will participate, and you'll click Generate URL. You'll see on my screen that I have entered 20 because that is the number of employees at my prospect. Now, this URL is unique to this organization, and each employee will actually receive their own individual quiz. So do not stress before it sends. You will have the opportunity to modify or customize this email that will include the link to take the Becca assessment. We'll see here in a second a pre-populated template for you to consider, but please feel free to modify any salutations or add your MSP's flair from here. You're welcome to do that. So now this email is being sent to your prospects, and you can patiently wait for their completion. When you'd like to start to understand how they did on this assessment, you can venture to the Baseline Employee Cybersecurity Assessment tab and populate or refresh your report on their answers and their attentiveness. This report will show you so many things, such as the overall company score, the number of employees that participated, the average scores across the sections, the average time of completion, the risk details of the completed scores, and the score and risk level at baseline for each employee. So this report is only available to your MSP. So once the end user takes the assessment, the only way they can review their answers or their results is from the assistance of your MSP. I recommend you withhold that data and those talking points for your discovery when you can review all together with the decision makers in your prospects organization. Now, just a quick point regarding the overall company score. Even if the overall risk is low, you can identify which of the 6 areas demonstrated provide opportunity for additional training. These are great talking points during your discovery that will undeniably help sell and resell continuous security awareness training. And secondly, regarding the individual scores, you can explore how job titles and corresponding risk levels may impact the need for training. Typically, the more access to systems, the more risk that you will see from your prospect. Again, these are the vulnerabilities that will not show up in your network and hardware assessment. So providing a solution for the greatest vulnerability in an organization has, their people, is a very powerful aspect, and it will set you apart from your competition. Now, will you get a varied level of participation? Yes, you will. You will have end users who can't wait to hear how they did, and you'll have end users who provide a million excuses as to why they didn't take the assessment in the first place. Either way, what a great thing to know about the behaviors of the employees that you're asking for the opportunity to manage and serve from your MSP, right? One of the hidden bonuses of Becca is that the assessment itself will also run a dark web scan on the domain or the email domain that was used to take the assessment. So you can potentially even share some exposed credentials as well. And that's pretty eye-opening for small businesses, certainly. But we're now moving right into our next prospecting tool. Let's run a dark web scan at BSN. Just food for thought here. Did you know that across the US, on average, 33% of employees reuse passwords across their personal and their work accounts? This is one of the reasons why showing your clients their password habits of their employees who have been found on the dark web is so valuable and important. With dark web scans and bonus, once you sell your prospect on the eye-opening risk of their first scan, you can sell and manage their continuous dark web monitoring into the future with your agreement. So you can now help protect your clients from the dangers of password reuse by revealing already exposed credentials and altering them immediately when a new password is discovered. We recommend that you do that, hopefully before that password is reused or used against them. Just as a side note here, in addition to showing the risk of password reuse or exposure, we should also consider why and how employees may be creating these passwords in the first place, right? That to me starts with the password management policy, one of the many critical policies and procedures necessary for every organization. Employees can't be expected to follow policies they don't know exist. So run this dark web scan, continuously monitor these domains, and then bundle all of this exposure together into a company-wide policy that is documented and acknowledged across the organization. I digress. I'll get back to it. I'm sorry. Dark web scans at BSN are super simple to implement. The process itself is about 5 minutes or less, depending on the domain quantity, of course. To me, it's a very gratifying experience because the results are instantaneous. This scan is for all of the current employees of your prospect's organization, and it will also cover any external company breaches as well as the type of information that was breached. So to set up, you will venture to the Manage Clients tab. You will select Client, and you will choose Dark Web and enter the 3 domains you'd like to run your initial scan on for the organization that you are prospecting. You can see there is a filter your results option that will allow you to alter the results of the scan itself, such as trying to locate a particular breach site, or even the date or the range of a breach if you are already aware of one. Maybe your prospect told you they were aware of one in the past. Most of our MSP partners just run the scan and generate a report with all variables included and work on remediation from there. So after you enter your domains and click the green Scan Domains button, you'll then be guided to your Dark Web report. This report is pretty darn robust. It includes an overview of exposed passwords and total breaches, any data exposure trends, the overall risk score of the exposed data, and finally, the latest dark web breaches in great detail, which include the date exposed, the count specifically that was breached. So let's review some talking points. The data that was exposed, no matter how long ago the breach occurred, PII like date of birth, address, job title, those things can't be changed as easily as passwords. So let's just recognize that. This puts your employees at a higher risk for social engineering attacks like spear phishing. These are the worst types of breaches and often are the most commonly exposed credentials. So really important to highlight if those types of credentials are exposed on your dark web scan. So we need to share with our prospects that the only true way to combat social engineering is with continuous security awareness training. However, continuous dark web monitoring of domains and protective policies or proactive policies, and procedures can help with prevention. They can help with the risk being top of mind for your prospect when working in parallel with security awareness training. So remember, I think it won't take just one tool to prevent a breach, and I think history would prove that to be true. If your MSP secures this prospect as a client, keep in mind you can offer them dark web remediation training from our breach prevention platform at BSN, and that training will aid in the protection and behavioral changes that are needed in the employee's secure posture, but it will not eliminate what has been exposed on the dark web. So now you've run the Becca assessment and included the dark web scan on the domain the employee used to take the assessment itself, and a separate dark web scan on 3 other domains. So now you need to set up a phishing simulation. To me, phishing simulations are a much bigger deal than they get credit for. I told you the story of my father's business earlier, and email is how my dad's company was hacked and imitated, and ultimately how he came to understand his lack of security awareness and provisions related to security. I also mentioned earlier that only 29% of our population can identify a phishing email, and that 90% of security breaches result from a phishing attack. So my friends, we must keep phishing and teaching our end users how to catch a fish, especially in our prospecting. Don't you want to know if an individual or organization has a particular phishing fail rate before you become their trusted IT advisor? Do you know that the #1 industry that falls for phishing attacks is healthcare? Specifically, data breaches via phishing simulations in the healthcare industry have been the most expensive for 12 years in a row, increasing by 41.5% since 2020. In fact, this past year in 2022, they hit a new record high with an average breach cost of $10.10 million. Those are things that will help your end users understand the initial phishing simulation you're providing to their team, diving into the continuous phishing training, and making sure it's top of mind to them all the time. The risk and threat really is there. Healthcare is obviously not alone. So many other industries are sitting ducks to phishing scams and attacks. So let's dive into how you can use BSN's phishing simulations in your prospecting, because I know your prospects will want to see this for themselves. Our phishing simulations as a prospecting tool will take you approximately 5 to 10 minutes as you navigate through 5 simple steps to implement. The time of completion for the end user will depend on the campaign duration, but you'll see an individual or overall company phishing fail rate from your campaign pretty quickly. And my goodness, it will be very insightful. So to set up your one-time prospecting phishing campaign, you'll navigate to the Manage Clients tab. a trendy place for us today. You will select client, choose phishing, and click new phishing campaign. I'll point out that we do have whitelisting instructions available, but you will need to have Azure Active Directory Sync enabled for you to use our direct mail delivery. So you can get past some of those filters that you have in place, or they may already have in place. This service is available to you when you secure this prospect as a client and add them to their breach prevention platform. But for prospecting purposes, we do have some suggestions, some testing, and some instructions available for whitelisting available to you in your partner subscription, which we're working in right now. All right, so we're going to set up a phishing campaign by first titling our campaign, noting that the frequency is one time since this is a prospecting phishing simulation, but you can see that when you add these recipients as clients later on for more consistent phishing, you will have options like setting frequency, the runtime, and you can really customize your phishing simulations for up to a year in advance. In fact, we have about 200 plus templates for you to choose from at current, and we add new templates every month. You can segment, you can randomize, you can take care of all of that set it and forget it phishing simulation so you get a true response rate consistently. For now, on our prospecting fish, we're going to focus on the basics and see if our potential client is going to take the bait and if they have any basic knowledge on how to spot a fish in the first place. So you'll select once for your frequency this time around and add your run dates when you'd like the campaign to start and end. You can use a CSV file to add recipients. You can manually add recipients, or if you have Azure enabled or permission from your prospect to do so, you have that option here as well, and you can see that on the next slide. At this point, you can choose to randomize your phishing simulation, so the one-time email will hit inboxes for your prospects' employees at different times, but it will still be that one email shared across that organization. Remember, we're just assessing this prospect one time at baseline. Phishing simulations can certainly be more customized, be more challenging. They can be segmented, as I mentioned, and kind of send different ones to different people at different times, so the office chatter isn't going, but you can do that as you onboard them to your human cybersecurity suite at BSN. On this next slide, you can choose your phishing simulation scenario and set the difficulty. Remember, easy reflects a more text-based email, and hard reflects more photos for distraction and more realistic tone. So if you select a credential grabbing scenario, you'll be able to see if the end user shared their credentials, such as adding their login information or their password. But to be clear, BSN does not hold a record of what they actually submitted, such as their password. We just know that they took the extra step to give away more sensitive information, and we make you aware of that too. So it's showcasing a double no-no, if you will, because your prospect not only clicked on the link in your phishing simulation, but they also gave away additional information to fall victim to the scenario even more. Now we'll just review the settings for your prospecting phishing simulation, and it's go time. Our report is now generated and shows the results, such as how many emails were deployed, the number of end users who opened the email, as well as if they fell for a credential grabbing scenario that we mentioned. The report will highlight a general phishing fail rate and how this organization stacks up in the community range. On the next slide, you'll see that there is a more detailed understanding of each user and where they would start their journey as a client of yours and Breach Secure Now with their Employee Secure Score. If you're not a Breach Secure Now partner currently and are wondering what an Employee Secure Score or ESS is, it is our heartbeat at BSN. We combine all human cybersecurity aspects into one reflective score to determine the cybersecurity health of a human. It looks similar to a FICO credit score, so that when the employee is taking their training, they're acknowledging policies and procedures, or they don't have credentials on the dark web, their score will look healthier by being in the higher number range and in green. And when your client's employees' behaviors are that of inaction or negative action, such as failing a phishing campaign, their score will go down and is in red and is in those lower numbers. So running a phishing simulation for prospect will help you see each employee and how they're starting out on their ESS journey. And it's really an engaging and empowering way to work with your client from the beginning and see how they're progressing with your partnership in positive steps over time. So this is a great time to talk about how your MSP would provide training to them and tools to them to improve their security and phishing posture. Keeping in mind, when you're reviewing the results of your phishing simulation, address the fail rate by difficulty. If these employees have failed the easy and medium scenarios, this will really emphasize any need for more security awareness training because they're failing the easiest scenarios, which is most likely not what hackers are going to use to try to phish them. Also, take special note of the data submitted and the role or roles of the employees who submitted the information. What type of PII was exposed? Just as a general reminder, the more access to systems that the employees have, the more risk from that employee. You can see on this slide, for an example, that there is a credential grabbing phishing simulation scenario and a prompt to take a training on the very thing that your prospect fell for in their phishing simulation. Just wanted to provide some pictorial examples for you to see. So these three tools, Becca, a dark web scan, and a phishing simulation, are guaranteed to open the eyes and minds of your prospects after all. Look at all of that human vulnerability and risk that you were able to prove in just a few minutes of your time and in just a few minutes of theirs. I do have one final recommendation for you when you're prospecting on the value of your MSP services, because you recognize that human cybersecurity isn't a hard sell, it's a heart sell. You have to mean it, you have to care about it, and you're sharing valuable information with your prospects that they need to hear. You get the privilege of helping small and large business employees to not be a statistic, to not be one of the 95% of the cause of all breaches. You have the honor of arming them to be superhuman firewalls by empowering them to prioritize prevention and not just buy technology to try to protect them from themselves. But history has shown that does not work. So you need to bundle these services that we discussed today and build it with your compassion to save the world from cybercrime. So let's talk briefly about how you can market these solutions to your prospects in their real life problems. Let's just be honest. They don't have a baseline understanding of their security posture. They don't know how to spot a phishing simulation, and they most likely have no idea what and how their most sensitive information got on the dark web. So the tools that I've shown you today, they'll do that work for you. But getting them interested in participating is actually going to take another step. It's going to take a little bit of your time to have that conversation, to market to your prospects effectively, and to secure a yes, please, show me a baseline cybersecurity assessment so that I can see how poor I am at cybersecurity. We need to exercise what I call the 4 C's. We need to be clear about the role our prospects will play in this process. Tell them the time it will take and your expectations of them. I've outlined today just a few minutes, right? We need to be concise. So we need to be short and to the point. I recommend getting an ambassador or security champion at the office of your prospect to help relay these easy steps you're taking and asking them to help. Get everyone involved so that all the communication is clear about whose role is what, when it's due, and who's going to be reviewing the end result. We need to offer curiosity. How and what can your prospect learn from your MSP and only your MSP? Is it the results of the assessment? Is it a deeper level of security that they had never heard of before? The security of people? Is it leaving them wondering how on earth do you know that they reuse their password, I love unicorns, for every login that they have? Peak and keep that curiosity alive, because you and your MSP are the answers for them. And finally, we have to show candor. We have to have real conversations with our humans about their own behavioral risk and be real with them about their own role in this cleanup. Those 4 C's of communications, clarity, concision, curiosity, and candor, should be your marketing strategy for 2024 and beyond, and certainly your marketing strategy to offer these vulnerability assessments and to prove risk and your MSP value in those solutions over time. If that all sounds overwhelming to you and creating marketing content is not your jam, please lean into your partnership with Breach Secure Now. Each month, our team provides your MSP with marketing toolkits that help you not only market products like Becca and phishing simulations, but also human cybersecurity in general, as well as the value of partnering with your MSP. Our kits are stuffed full of proven content. They have white label social media graphics, emails, call scripts, blogs, flyers, and even videos to tell your human firewall story to the channel and to your clients. All of these kits are available in your partner resource kit. And I know that you'll love and appreciate what we have for you in waiting, I suppose, in the highly anticipated October Cybersecurity Awareness Month Toolkit. Y'all, this has been a really fun webinar brought to you by Breach Secure Now, the channel leader in cybersecurity awareness, HIPAA compliance, and productivity. We are so proud that we are over 2,700 MSP partners strong with well over 1 million end users training and improving their security posture on our platform every single day. So thank you for helping us put people first. We have officially run out of time or run over time. My apologies. So I will play us out by sharing a video of just a sample of some of the real life answers to the BSN Baseline Employee Cybersecurity Assessment questions from the streets of Philadelphia. These are not actors. These are true responses to some of the actual questions in the Becca assessment. So get inspired by the possibilities. As a reminder, our team will provide email and contact information in the chat, and we can follow up with you, or please reach out to your dedicated partner engagement consultant to dive into any of these prospecting tools. I know they would love to help you. That's all, folks. Thanks for being here. It is a beautiful day to train those humans. Cheers. And remember, go change your password. Thanks.
Yo, to be totally honest, I'm not sure what email phishing is.
I always think of like a European princess wanting $500 that scams you on your email.
I don't know like the definition of malware, but I know it's just like viruses and stuff, right?
I don't know what two-factor authentication is.
Two-factor authentication is really annoying. It's just a pain in the butt.
Firewall, just kind of what it sounds like. You know, your wall against fire and
firewall. That sounds crazy.
I have one password for everything, and I haven't been hacked in weeks.
I always use the same password.